Welcome to this Ubuntu Project video facilitated by Zentertainment Enterprises. Be sure to like and subscribe if you learned something new. Now, onto the video.
Hello and welcome. My name is Takara Taylor, clinical therapist, and I am here to bring you episode 2 of my youth series titled Navigating Youth Through the Lens of Emotional Intelligence and Mental Wellness. And today we're going to explore the importance of emotion regulation and self-regulation. So stay tuned as I take you on a journey. So, the first topic I would like to cover is emotional intelligence, often known as EQ. And a person with a high EQ has the ability to manage, understand, recognize, and also effectively express their own emotions in a healthy way. They also have the ability to recognize and understand the emotions of others. And so with that includes several key components, which I will share with you. The first key component of emotional intelligence is having self-awareness, being able to recognize your own emotions, as well as being able to know your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and your goals. So that kind of ties into my first episode where I talked about identity development. So the more solid that you are in your identity development, the more self-awareness you should have. So the next components that I want to highlight entail self-regulation and emotion regulation, which are two very important things as it relates to emotional intelligence. And so self-regulation kind of looks at your ability to control your impulses, manage your impulses, not delivering knee-jerk reactions, right? Being able to control yourself, control your body, control your mouth, right? When you need to. And emotion regulation is basically, managing your emotions, controlling your emotions, and also being able to adapt to changing circumstances and maintaining your composure under stress. And speaking of adapting to changing circumstances and being able to maintain your composure under stress, I'd like to share with you a video which is part of a social emotional learning program that I'm working on, which kind of shows kids demonstrating, modeling behavior that we want to see when it comes to ways that they can deal with certain situations that trigger them. And so, take a look.
Who likes the idea of routines? Some of us love them, and some of us are okay without them. Today, we're going to be taking a look at how Max responds when a routine doesn't go to his usual liking. Let's take a look.
Max, it's time for dinner.
I'm almost to the highest level, Mom.
Didn't I say it's time for dinner? You get down here right now, mister.
You're the meanest mom in the world, and I'll never make it to the highest level because of you.
We can see Max is really upset. And sometimes when people get upset, our initial reaction is to match their energy and respond with anger. But that can throw gasoline on a flame that's already bursting with fire. Let's take a moment to see where things went wrong in this situation. So why are you upset, Max?
I'm not upset, but it's just my mom usually set the timer and tells me enough to get off the game, but this time she didn't.
So as we take a closer look, we can see Max isn't upset about eating dinner. He was just upset because his routine was thrown off. Max is a person who thrives on routines, but this can be a moment where we show Max that things aren't going to be the same every day. Things that can help Max while he's experiencing difficult times or ways to cope with his anger is to just come up with something. Maybe he could have 10 seconds to calm down, maybe take a deep breath, or he could even close his eyes and visualize himself doing something fun at one of his favorite places. Just anything to take Max's brain off of the problem that's making him angry. And then after he takes a break, we can go back, revisit the issue, and have a chance to think about the issue a little bit differently. So let's play this scenario back and see what happens when Max has time to calm himself down.
I said it's time for dinner. Can you come downstairs, please?
Okay, Mom.
So how many of us have had our routines disrupted, right? The thing that we visioned in our mind of a certain situation, we planned out how it's going to go in our heads, and in real life, it didn't happen that way. And we become sort of unhinged, right? We become emotionally dysregulated, which is the opposite of regulated, right? And so when we get dysregulated, we deliver a lot of knee-jerk reactions. We say things we don't mean. And, like when Max said, "You're the meanest mom ever," as she's cooking him dinner. So I think, sometimes we gotta take a pause for the cause and be flexible. And that will take you a long way versus, saying the wrong thing and damaging the relationship. The other thing that I would like to point out when it comes to emotion regulation and self-regulation as it relates to dealing with kids and adolescents is really reminding people that their brains don't fully develop until 25, right? That prefrontal cortex is not fully developed yet. And the prefrontal cortex is responsible for a lot of that, like logical, critical thinking skills, decision making, and they also have what they call the feeling brain. So it's the thinking brain and then the feeling brain. So the thinking brain is the prefrontal cortex. The feeling brain is what is called the amygdala. And I call it the feeling brain because the amygdala is what rules our emotions, right? And so when that emotion brain, that feeling brain is activated, that takes over. And sometimes that prefrontal cortex, because it's not fully developed yet, it has a hard time regulating that amygdala when it gets on and popping. And so you may notice that when your child or a kid that you're working with, once they get escalated, it's hard to get them to calm back down when they're in the heat of the moment. So keep that in mind. We are dealing with little people who don't have fully developed prefrontal cortexes, which is causing them to have trouble sometimes managing what goes on in the amygdala. But that's just a little bit about sort of the biological basis of behavior, as they call it in my psychology class. Now, there are a couple of other components that fall under emotional intelligence, which includes this ability to have empathy for others and also to have pretty good social skills. Now, we hear the term empathy thrown around a lot these days, right? And it's just this ability to be able to understand what it feels like to be in someone else's shoes, even though you haven't experienced quite what they experienced. And so sometimes, we see people going through things and we empathize with them. We empathize and we have understanding about what it is that they're going through without a lot of judgment, right? And I think that's the key component, is not being overly judgmental, because even though we empathize and we can try to imagine what it's like to be in their shoes, there still may be some things that we don't understand. And that's okay. But, you want to try to be a safe space for people, especially people you care about and that you love, to be able to be empathetic and understanding about certain situations that they've been going through, because their lived experience is different from ours. And we got to honor that. I will now interrupt this episode with a quick public service announcement so you understand the why behind the work that I choose to do working with the youth. And it is definitely a dire need to get these kids to cultivate emotional intelligence and make it a permanent fixture in their lives. In an instant, emotions can swiftly change, particularly in the minds of our youth. Shockingly, 1 in 5 children worldwide contends with mental health challenges, an invisible epidemic extending its reach across the globe. Consider this. Before even reaching 14, an astonishing half of all mental health disorders have already taken hold, casting a long shadow over our youth's future. Adding to this distressing reality is the fact that children from minority backgrounds often lack access to vital mental health services, leaving them to navigate their struggles alone. The well-being of our young minds is invaluable. However, nearly 70% of children with mental health concerns don't receive appropriate support early on. Finally, reflect on this. Suicide stands as the second leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds, a chilling indication of the emotional battles they confront. Acknowledging and understanding these truths marks the initial stride toward cultivating a healthier, happier generation. Cultivating emotion and self-regulation skills in children and adolescents is crucial for their overall well-being and success. Here are 10 ways to help them develop these important skills. 1. Demonstrate healthy emotion regulation yourself by managing your own emotions effectively. Children learn a lot by observing adults. 2. Teach emotional awareness. Help children identify and label their emotions accurately. Use feeling words and discuss emotions openly. 3. Practice mindfulness. Teach mindfulness techniques such as deep breathing, meditation, or body scans to help children stay present and manage their emotions. 4. Encourage emotional expression. Create a safe environment where children feel comfortable expressing their feelings without judgment. 5. Teach problem-solving skills. Help children develop effective problem-solving strategies so they can address challenges and frustrations constructively. 6. Promote empathy. Encourage children to understand and consider others' feelings, which enhances their own emotional awareness and regulation. 7. Establish routines. Consistent routines can provide stability and predictability, which are important for the emotional regulation. 8. Set realistic expectations. Avoid placing undue pressure on children. Help them set achievable goals and celebrate progress. 9. Encourage healthy coping mechanisms. Teach children positive ways to cope with stress or difficult emotions, such as exercise, creative activities, or talking to a trusted adult. 10. Provide positive feedback. Acknowledge and praise efforts towards emotional regulation and self-control. Positive reinforcement helps reinforce these skills. By integrating these practices into daily life, children and adolescents can develop strong emotional intelligence and self-regulation skills that will serve them well into adulthood.
Please be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell to know when we upload a new video.